Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Warner Brothers Discovery and what's up in the air and what the choices are and what it looks like the administration's supporting, at least based on what President Trump has said. That's going to cause some people some trouble and reveal that there are political motivations behind Netflix's move and Zaslav's counter move. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a quick reminder, double check you're still subscribed to the channel. If you're not, hit that button. It's absolutely free, and all it'll do is let you know that you are subscribed to the channel. If you hit the bell icon down there at the bottom and turn on all notifications, that will make sure you don't miss anything, because I do dozens of things every single week in various locations, not just on this channel. And look, you have a better chance of finding it if you actually are subscribed and have notifications on. And with that, I just kind of want your comments and thoughts on this, because on Monday, Matt McGloin wrote this article for Cosmic Book News saying, Trump to the rescue, saving Warner Brothers for Paramount over woke Netflix. Now, look, I don't think anybody can argue that Netflix is woke AF. They have been ever since Hastings and Sarandos decided to push all these political narratives. And, you know, they went out and they got themselves Obamas. But let's set all of that aside and talk about the reality of the situation, because there is one. The only reason Netflix is in on this is to, well, thwart an opportunity for anybody with any kind of independence or even conservatism to acquire another needed entity to spread propaganda. Warner Brothers Discovery, perfect way to spread propaganda. That's what CNN's all about. And if you lose control of CNN, well, you only have like Disney then to push propaganda for you that you can guarantee will do that. Because Comcast, I feel like, could go either way. In fact, recently, they've been as conservative as they've been leftist, and that's kind of good news for people who watch. But let's jump into the story. A new twist in the high-stakes bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery is making headlines, and this time, it involves none other than President Donald Trump. While the president had distanced himself from the sale, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, even had him back out, or maybe Kushner backed out himself, Trump now seems to have fully aligned with Paramount against Netflix. Now, let's just say it this way. It's better for, well, the Republican Party and the nation as a whole if there isn't a political alignment that's set in stone in any of these entertainment giants. In fact, I would feel better if everybody was neutral. The problem is that that's not good business, because the people on the extreme left side of the equation are using any and all of this cultural influence to, well, tip the country in the wrong direction, and it's bad business fiscally. Maybe good for their politics, but very bad for their bottom line and investors. Now, Paramount Skydance's Plan D is where we're at. According to a recent New York Post report, and this one I thought was great, Charles Gasparino reports that Paramount Skydance has moved to Plan D in its bid to derail Netflix's so-called winning offer with Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, it really isn't, because nobody can argue that a solid all-cash offer at a higher price point isn't better for investors, especially since it's predicted that Global Network will take the same kind of dive that we just watched Versant go through, if not even more extreme, because I'm not sure how much longer Versant's going to stay above water as it continues to descend on the daily. After multiple failed strategies, including the all-cash $30 share offer, a potential hostile takeover, and even threatening litigation, which I think they're still going to move forward on, the Ellison-backed studio is now playing the long game, which, again, they may win, because we're watching the value of Warner Brothers start to teeter. We're also, again, not giving you any financial advice, but as I said, we're watching things collapse in real time, including Netflix's stock price, which is supposed to be part of the offer that you're getting. Well, insiders for the site say that they're focused on hammering home the enormous regulatory risks surrounding Warner Brothers Discovery / Netflix merger, hoping that the deal collapses under its own weight. And I've been telling you right now, there's going to be severe scrutiny on this either way. I think even Paramount Skydance might have a little more than they anticipate. According to reporting, Trump targets the Netflix takeover. Trump posted on One America News article on Truth Social titled "Stop the Netflix Cultural Takeover," slamming the deal as an ideological power grab by a woke media monopoly. And as I've said before, he's not wrong. One of the wokest companies on the planet that's aligned with all the extreme leftist ideas and oftentimes in supporting some very crazy ideas out there through the cultural influence that you have with a media company like that. I would say it's kind of an accurate statement. Regardless, the article accuses Netflix of seeking to consolidate unprecedented cultural power by acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, home to iconic brands like DC, HBO, and Harry Potter, which of course they would do. The message? Well, if Netflix controls these assets, it could become the most dominant cultural gatekeeper in history, able to rewrite characters, retell history, redefine social norms, and control which ideas reach audiences. Not only that, I think it's very terrifying that the maximum theatrical window that would sneak through the door if it were governed by Netflix would be 17 days, which means the cultural impact of films would be limited to their ideology or the tolerance level or what's in the best interest for the streamer and not for art itself, which I think is a big, big problem. Trump's repost was seen by many as an endorsement of Paramount Skydance's rival bid and a warning shot at regulators, letting them know maybe we should take a pretty decent look at this. It also follows Netflix's biggest show, Stranger Things, going completely woke in its final season. And look, I agree with that. Complete change of direction, change of tone, change of attitude, and kind of a change in approach to the art that had been trying to preserve 80s culture and completely ignored it in the final season. That leaves us with this question. Regulatory chaos incoming. Well, I would say that's going to be fairly predictable. It aligns perfectly with what the Ellisons and Redbird Capital have been arguing for months. The Warner Brothers Discovery Netflix deal is a regulatory nightmare waiting to happen. I agree. And Netflix is offering less, $27.75 per share in a mix of stock and cash, which if you're watching the stock price right now for Netflix, after a 10-to-1 split that reduced its value, it's crashing or it's going down pretty significantly. They're also ignoring the $3 per share tied to the risky cable spinoff of Global Networks is a part of a potential disaster. And that $3 is looking more like a pipe dream as investors balk at the $15 billion debt that's dumped onto the spin-out. And that's a big problem. It's a huge problem, in fact. And that's the other problem with Versant. You're trying to dump debt, as I mentioned in yesterday's 6-Minute Daily, onto the shareholders that didn't actually want it. And that's what's going to happen with Global Networks. It's what's happening right now with Versant. And it is essentially a reason not to own a stock that, well, will become valueless very aggressively. Meanwhile, Netflix lost over $160 billion in market cap since the bidding war began. As I mentioned before, their stock price collapsing after a 10-for-1 split. And skeptics are questioning whether it can afford the deal. It can't. At least I don't see that it can. The Ellisons are actually calling out the declining value of Netflix stock as another ticking time bomb for Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, and they're right. I saw this thing coming a mile away, and I promise you, the people that are more financially astute than yours truly, which would be the Ellisons, they're big winners in the financial world, I would say they kind of know what they're talking about. How about you? With that, let me know what you think. Is the Netflix deal a pipe dream trying to either delay or minimize the potential loss of a mouthpiece for the propaganda spewing extreme leftists that Netflix has become, or that they work in part with, including the Obamas? Is there fear that perhaps it would become more ideologically balanced under the leadership of Skydance / Paramount? Is the Paramount deal preferable because it's going to be more money in investors' pockets? Or is it the stock value of Netflix that's going to scare people away? Let me know your thoughts on any of these issues and any others you'd like down in the comments section below. And as I'll say once again, I am not here to give financial advice. In fact, you shouldn't be taking any advice from anybody online, and especially not from that Mad Money guy, because, man, is he always wrong. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! But not investing in Netflix.